Hi, I'm E.C. Darling Bond, Marketing Director for Ronin Theater Collaborative, here with author and star of Fat Men in Yoga Pants, yes. Ben Corbett. How are you, Ben?
I am doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you again for agreeing to meet today talk about the show.
I would love to talk about the show.
All right. So, Fat Men in Yoga Pants, what is the elevator pitch, if you will?
The elevator pitch is Fat Men in Yoga Pants is 90 minutes of my exploration of thoughts on size, maleness, and sexuality while taking a Vinyasa 2 class.
All right. And what inspired the play?
I was angry. I was really angry, and I was in a situation where I felt like my voice was not being heard, where I felt that I was having to really curb my impulses to speak and make people happy rather than to change them. And so I started writing this play, and I was feeling like I wasn't being much of a voice teacher anymore, so I started writing. And I decided just to focus on myself and say some things that I felt like my surrounding people around me would not care about or would just change the subject about.
Right.
And I started writing, and I knew I loved yoga. I knew I hated my body, and which I thought was a great conflict to explore, like being active, but you hate what's being active. And so I started writing, and I actually handed it to Cody because I've never written a play before. And I started sending pages to Cody, and Cody, in his wonderful way, said, "You have to keep writing. You have to keep writing this."
Oh, that's always the good thing.
Yeah.
That's much better than where it's like, is this a manifesto? Should we be worried?
Exactly. And I used the structure of a basic Vinyasa 1 class to tell the story, and that my stories would go along with various poses. And I would send things to Cody, and he would just keep encouraging me, and kind of slowly teach me how to write a play by encouraging the work I was doing and finding order to it. Because I had no idea what I was doing. I've never written a play before. I don't know what I'm doing. And but I knew I had an opinion. I knew I was tired of holding it back.
Right.
And so his dramaturgy was absolutely beautiful. And finding some kind of order out of the rage is kind of how Fat Man in Yoga Pants started taking shape.
Yeah. Now, this is billed as semi-autobiographical. Now, you are Ben Corbett playing the role of Ben.
Yes, I am.
So where do you find... Because I would imagine that the difficult thing about writing something so personal and so honest about yourself and your point of view is giving too much of your information away.
Right.
I would be worried about, is something I'm about to say going to be used to steal my identity?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so where do you find the times when it's like, okay, this can be fictionalized versus this has to be absolutely true?
I think where something has to be fictionalized or generalized is when it becomes about just me and what I wish I would have said to the person rather than me sharing with the audience the experience of ...
Okay.
And to me that became a very useful editor. Like, is this just about you, or is the audience included in this at all? And if the audience was not included, then I found myself going, this actually may need to change, or this can include what I wish would have happened, or what I wanted to happen, or and that kind of created a fiction based on desires and other choices. Especially, like I've said, if that can include the audience.
Right.
There was something I wanted to avoid in the show was, is this just some guy making people money so he can bitch about his life? And I do think one-person shows can often turn into that. Not by the structure itself. I mean, but, it's almost like stand-up. Like, you do have a mic, and you have a captive audience. They can leave if they want. And you have an audience. I can do whatever. And I wanted to avoid, my life is so hard, but everything's great now, and I'm so inspirational. and we need inspiration right now. But I thought it might be more interesting is that looking for what can apply to others in the mess.
Right.
Can people identify with the mess, with the bad choices, with the wishes, with the paradoxes, and letting the audience see me struggle and fail? I thought would be more, I guess I would say more engaging.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It's more that, like, these aren't just your staircase thoughts.
Right.
Rather, it's inviting the audience to see their own struggles in yourself.
Right. A lot of my stuff was really being clear about my own self-hatred and being brave enough to share that self-hatred, and how am I responsible for that self-hatred. And that was really scary. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that if you don't like yourself or you're depressed or anxious, it's your fault. But just how much of a part am I playing in my own misery? And that became, I think, where I found a way to get out of just bitching or blaming, but perhaps evolving.
No. Sorry, every time I talk to you, I always have to, like, take a pause to just reflect.
That's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, of
Take
course.
your time. Do what you gotta do. It's okay.
Yeah. But you are a teacher. You are used to being profound.
Yes. Well, trying. I mean, and sometimes you just have to trust the profundity may be realized 10 years later. Or someone may be nodding and liking what you do because they just want an A. So you just have to put it out there. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing, and I'm inspired by a mentor of mine, Laura Gardner, who's one of the teachers in Alaska at the Valley's Theater Conference. Mm-hmm. If people don't want to learn, they won't. And you can't teach those who don't want to learn. And that has really hit me over the years. Just like, I can offer my work, but you don't have to do it. And there may be a part of me that maybe just is ready to just put the work out there, let it be consumed or not. But not beating myself up about it, but just this is what I'm offering.
Yeah. And how has the process been? First time playwright, you are bringing it to the stage.
Yes.
With a team, and especially for something so personal, that has to be difficult to parse out from time to time. Like, okay, I am receiving these very, like, personal inner reflections. Mm-hmm. And I have to translate that with other people. Right. And I imagine that would have to be, at times, a struggle.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, especially, I think it must have helped getting comments from Cody, who was encouraging while you were writing that it was already that, like, first practice. Right. But how has it been bringing it to the stage and actually, as opposed to just writing something for yourself and just seeing it on page, but actually having it out in the open?
Well, if you're talking about the process, like what was the process?
The process.
Okay. So because I am so thankful for the Valdez Theater Conference community, which is a conference, in Valdez, Alaska, devoted to playwrights, and I'd been there for years as an actor and a teacher. I had soaked up a lot of knowledge and had such reverence for people who put the work out there, but also knowing that you put your work out there and actually the sun rises the next day. So if you put your work out there, the world actually continues turning, mm-hmm. which I think was actually useful. What is the worst thing that can happen? I cry. Well, over what? My play. Okay, and that's valid. But we're still going to go on the glacial cruise tonight, and you're part of it too. That's okay. But that doesn't mean you're not pretty. It's just, and then someone else will have their play read, and we love you. So I guess putting it in perspective that the world doesn't end if what you do isn't liked. Yeah. And so I guess that gave me bravery. So I actually submitted a section of the play, which I called Food Never Fails, to the Fringe Festival, which is an evening Fringe Festival at the conference, in which 11 p.m. looks like 11:15 in Arizona, because science. And I actually got there and read about 7 minutes of my play, and I was humbly, genuinely surprised about people's reaction, especially people going, I feel that way too, but I don't feel like I can ever talk about it. Or, hey, I know that you're a gay white male and I'm an Indian black woman, but I want to talk about this you really for like 30 seconds. Like, yes, ma'am, of course you may. So people coming up to me and saying, I don't think you know what you have here, but people are going to listen and you need to be ready.
Right.
So after doing that on my own, and going home and going, oh crap, I think I kind of have to write it. I put it into some kind of shape, and then I submitted it to the Play Lab, which is the big event in Valdez, which is workshops, plays, you're given a reading and responses. And I was thank you Dawson Moore, I was accepted into the Play Lab. We had one rehearsal, and then read it, and I am very humbled to say it got a standing ovation, which I am thankful for. Good plays also don't always get standing ovations, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the feedback from people and the panel was visceral, with people having to stop and say, you know what, this is what I deal with being like a small person. And I found that like when at least in my experience, the play happens and then people go, I need to talk about this now, I need to talk about this now. Hey, I go through that too. And I just had playwrights I really respected saying, you need to send this out now, and it's ready. And I was quite humble, and what this all has forced me to do is look at my Oklahoma Church of Christ background, the forced humility, the forced self-hatred that I think it helped facilitate, also being in the closet for years, also being afraid to work out around people because 7th grade gym class was when I was most bullied and teachers would just watch.
Yeah.
That I'm going to have to claim that I'm a playwright whether I think I am or not. So I got some honest feedback after I came back and started shaping it. And Cody and I had a couple of read-throughs on Zoom with invited guests. And then very luckily, Cody sent it on to Keith. And Keith greenlit it. And I'm very thankful for that, especially because he knew me from my gigs working here as a vocal coach. Mm-hmm. And I think we vibe. Keith and I are very different, but we do vibe. And they're giving me a shot. I think we need new work so desperately right now because artists are being shut down right now. I think we need people who are willing to be brave and to be messy and to be anxious and to still work and share their experiences, find reasons not to shut themselves down because of what they struggle with, but their struggles are the reason and the impetus that they can go forward. And so I find that if you're not good enough, that's a reason to write. If you've got anxiety, that's a reason to write. If you have depression or bipolarism, or you're afraid of taking actions because of whatever, that's actually a reason to write. And what you deal with may facilitate how you write. That's okay. And you don't have to write like Gen X or Boomer. That's okay. I'm just surrounded by millennials all the time here at Ronin, and I'm just learning a lot from that too. I'm done. I date a millennial. He reads me every 5 minutes. So that's okay. But I'm just saying that I know we're scared. I know we're tired. I know we are anxious. I know we're depressed. But I think that actually can be our fuel. How we create can be springboarded by these doubts if we're willing to go forward. Those aren't reasons to stop working. Those are reasons to find out how you work. And I think that's really cool. Yeah.
When Keith gave you the green light to do this, was there ever a conversation about having someone else perform the role? Or was it always the plan of well, I wrote it, this is about my personal experience, even though there are, some fictionalized elements, that I have to be the one to at least do it for the first time.
Right. I think it was always understood that I would do it. I have had conversations with a dear friend in Alaska about, do you think you'll ever be in a place to give it away? Or like hand it over to someone? And I was talking with Cody both yesterday and today about, I think after I see what legs it has, then looking back going, okay, is there a way that I can take myself out of the picture? And like, how could someone take this role and speak it from their truth? You know, it's interesting because you've got people like Tim Miller, who's just a brilliant, he's a mentor of mine, but I can't do his work because it's so Tim Miller, it's autobiographical, you know. But then like, you know, search for signs of intelligent life in the universe. I mean, of course you can do that because obviously that was written as a vehicle for Lindley Tomlin, but it's not strictly her. So right now it is semi-autobiographical. But the conversation was always that I would do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible there may be a time they may go, okay, how can someone else do this? I do think there are a couple of sections that actually are ready to go for someone else. Just I'm not sure about the story. And though I don't have to give it away, I think it may be in the future just going, what if I wrote this but you did it and I didn't? Or are there sections where I say, and this is where you write your stuff. You may fill in the blanks here. So maybe do the script like a choose your own adventure thing. Or maybe just do it as a Mad Lib. And like, hey, pages 6 to 7, you write your own stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you get to 8, now go back to what I wrote.
Well, if you do a choose your own adventure style, I hope, if I ever had to perform it, I hope it works out better for me. Every time I try those books, I always die. I get to like the second choice, and then it's like, oh, because you chose not to trust this stranger, you died in a cave.
I know that. I always used to cheat at those books. I always did. I was like, no, I'm having a good day. I'm not putting up with it. I'm having a good day. Sorry about it. So.
My sister one time gave me one about the JFK assassination.
Oh my god!
Where you're trying to solve it, and they came up with a fake ending of you get the Presidential Medal of Freedom by RFK, senior, not junior, and there's no way to get to that ending. Every ending, you either get humiliated, killed by the mob, abducted by aliens.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
That is awesome.
Yeah. But I have to, for now staging this, and you're talking about such personal things, it has to help having a team.
Absolutely.
Like Monica, who has come on as an intimacy coordinator.
Yeah.
What has that process been like?
It's so interesting. I'm so glad you asked me that, because my generation and earlier were taught, well, if you have a make-out scene, well, just make out with her, and we'll figure out if this works. Or, you know what you two guys should do? You should go, have a couple of beers, go back to someone's apartment, just make out, then remember what you did. Or, okay, we're going to do the sex scene. Okay, well, put your hand on her here, put your hand, and then you just kind of pump a little bit, and that'll be great. Then we'll do lights out. So it's so interesting when you are raised with just where you just do it.
Yeah.
And then intimacy coordination comes on saying, hey, here's a way that we can do this, affirming that you're working with a human being, not a prop. And the extra work that goes into it is so beautiful and so meticulous. And I'm encountering that because Monica's just so wonderful and so giving and so encouraging. And I'm running up against my Gen X wall of, you just do it because you're an actor. Well, okay, yes, okay. But how do we do this certain scene on a 2-show day when you're digging up the stuff you only share with a therapist? Like, how are you okay after the Saturday night show? And I am really struck by the work so far of just me being on stage as Ben Corbett, but it's also someone representing Ben Corbett. And then when I come off the stage, how do I get out of it even if it's me? I found that really useful. Yeah. Even with the ideas, well, you just shake it off and you go. Okay, but we're talking about stuff. Okay, and if you don't deal with it, it follows you home. And that isn't weakness, that's care.
Yeah.
So that I've been really humbled by that. She's really cool. She's really cool. Intimate directors are just really cool. So you just kind of have to go for the ride and realize that you don't know everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
My first kiss ever was a stage kiss.
Yeah.
And it was awkward.
Yeah.
Because I'm at a community college, and the director says, like, okay, just kiss them. And I was like, I haven't kissed anyone before. So we all got paired up and just did it. And it was just like, well, this is uncomfortable. This was not how I planned my first kiss on being.
Right.
But I'm 17 and repressed, so...
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And I know, like, when I've done repertory theater, you know, especially when you don't have time for this to be school, like, so you're going to make out, let's just say, lips parted, no tongue. Okay, go. You know, and I mean, I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but we also can't assume that's the base level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, oh, like, look, I know you're a good person, but when you touch me, that reminds me of when I was blah. And actually, that is going to come up, and I don't want to muffle a cry while we're making out. Can we please talk about this?
Of course.
And looking at generations who never got to talk about it, with directors or department heads who were not legally allowed to talk about it or didn't want to talk about it, then with students who are like, I've never had sex or kissed someone, you want me to what? Well, just kiss her. Well, cute, but you want me to do it in public? That's actually asking a lot of a 17-year-old.
Yeah, especially because I did not grow up... So, I don't know if I ever told you this. I grew up in a UFO religion.
Okay.
So, but not a fun one. Like, it was the repressed, like, we are trying to become ascended masters, and by ascended masters, we become the most boring people possible.
Okay.
And so it was very much like, yeah, physical intimacy is great, but you should avoid it.
Okay.
Just because it's kind of the flesh world, and that's wrong.
Right.
I don't know if you had a similar background with a United Church of Christ.
I was with the Church of Christ. The United Church of Christ is the nice one. So I was raised in Church of Christ.
Oh, no.
So we are the ones who didn't feel like there could be any choir or piano or accompanied music. We are all a cappella, no music allowed in church at all. No pianos, no organs or anything like that. So just songbooks and the human spirit.
That sounds terrible.
Well, I tell you what, you learn how to match pitch fast.
Yeah.
Because if the song sucks, there's no one to blame but us. So I always kind of went, well, that's useful. So, I mean, my upbringing was like, sex will happen, it's supposed to happen, you'll wait to get married, and we're never going to talk about it. And now how do I go forward as a healthy person when I come out of the closet? I've never had sex. Dad and Mom never talked about sex with me. What do I do when I have urges and I know what they are?
Yeah.
And there's no one to talk to about it. I mean, you know, just I think the whole thing of it'll just work itself out, or I'll wait till they come to me, actually is quite terrible because often they don't know what to ask. So I think the sense of being vocal in a healthy space about sex, about sexuality, letting questions be messy, letting questions be embarrassing, but also know that these people bring these pasts to a rehearsal hall.
Yeah.
And for some people, just kiss her is really terrifying, especially if you're surrounded by people who have various levels of sexual experience, various levels of religious trauma, or perhaps no religious trauma, and now we're going to act. And that's a lot to ask of somebody, And I mean, to get, even if you're doing it on film, you have one take. And thankfully, because of industry coaches, people now more time is being committed so that no one is actually violated while being filmed. There has to be so much trust when you may have one rehearsal on set and then you got to film.
Yeah. Well, especially when you see so many of these couples who, we call them showmances, and it's cute, but it's always like, yeah, are you guys in a relationship because you've formed a genuine connection, or is it just because it's like, I'm so used to kissing this person, being physically intimate with this person, that my wires are all crossed?
Yeah, and I think, it's how does having a show boyfriend not become your really real boyfriend unless that's okay.
Yeah.
Because and again, really learning from Monica, like when you come on stage, even if it's my semi-autobiographical or sometimes autobiographical show, it isn't really me, it's just a lot of me, because I'm different when I'm in the truck with Cody than when I am talking to you right now.
Of course.
And I'm still Ben Corbett. So the idea that when you're doing intimacy, you actually are a character that needs to be brought on, but also when you get off stage, taken off. Which I think is, it sounds kind of obvious, but I think definitely with, we'll call it sex, whatever it is, or let's say the sensual world, I think can be so romantic and so visceral that we lose the character and we go back into feelings, which is like, yes, this is true, but you are this person on stage, not you. Yeah. They're just using you.
Well, especially if you've grown up in a background to where it's like you don't have a lot of experience.
Right.
Or love or any kind of physical affection is so conditional, it can become addicting.
Right.
Of just like, well, yeah, I just keep acting because I get kisses.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's the only time I'm getting any kind of like physical validation.
Yeah, yeah. And heard, because touch, oh God, I feel like Monica answered this so much better than I do. I think the big thing is, how do we keep telling the story? And how does physical touch keep telling the story while we are still safe? That we're free to open ourselves to the story, the physical world of the story, and not lose ourselves. And that when we leave the stage, either at the end of the show or just at the scene, we are no longer telling the story. How do I take myself out of it? You know, at least that's what I'm learning so far.
Well, speaking of taking yourself out of the story, this is one of my favorite questions to ask playwrights who are also performing their own pieces.
Okay.
Do you ever get mad at the playwright?
I don't. Oh my God! I wrote 35 pages, and what the hell was I thinking? That was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. It's like, oh, you're a play. Here's what happened. I wrote it, and then went, oh hell! Now I've got to learn it.
Those are the great moments of just like, why did they write it this way?
That was the dumbest thing I've ever done, because my writing is very academic. One of the things Cody and I worked on was, Ben, your writing is very much like a lecture, because you're a teacher. Great, okay, but how can we add the sensual world to it? But what I have found my style is so far, because I don't know if I know my style, but that I write in threes. I write in academic, there's this, and then there's this. The rhetoric of threes I write in a lot, which is very much, actually, like I just remember like when I read W.B. Du Bois or like Booker T. Washington in high school, very much that style, like let's say mid 19th century style or early 20th century. That's my style of playwriting. And I also combine that with a lot of repetition, because I tend to repeat myself a lot. And also when I was in grad school, I really liked the dancer Pina Bausch. And I'm not a dancer, but she really focused on like doing one movement. Now doing this movement for like 15 or 20 minutes. And what does that turn into? Now you get a sea of 20 dancers doing this. I'm making this up. This, okay. But then what starts to happen when, how does the audience relate to this after the 10th movement, after the 20th movement? And I find that my writing reflects that. So I write in like academic ladders and also short repetitions a lot. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm memorizing two kinds of texts. Why did I do this to myself? Who do I think I am? And I would be sitting in my boyfriend's house in Tulsa, just muttering to myself for 2.5 hours, covering 5 pages, just going, what is going on with me? Because the thing is, I know it, but I have to get the structure or else I'll lose myself in it.
Right.
I know what happened. I know what it felt like when I was at the CC, a bar that's no longer open, in Raleigh in 1998. I know what happened. But I need the structure so I can tell you about it and I don't get lost in it. I don't get lost in the bar. And so just memorizing it was just absolute hell. And I wondered, why do you write this way? So, because I don't know if I help the actor when I write. I really don't. I don't think I'm nice because I repeat myself so much. So that style is, I think my style is academically repetitive.
Well, I commend you for not just deciding in the moment of like, I can change this.
Well, I have thought about it.
No, everybody thinks about it.
There are 2 sections that I still go, why do I trip up on these sections? And I wrote it, and I trip up. And there is a part of me that just goes, Ben, is this a little... This week I'm going to look at those, like, can I make these easier? And if it's fine, then it's fine. But, like, I've just kind of wondered, there are a couple sections where I wonder if maybe they're a little clever, and can I make them easier? But we'll find out. What really had got me, I once asked Cody, just like, hey, Cody, is it okay if I cut and change this line? Yeah, because you wrote it. And I went, oh dang. And with this whole process I've been in is like discovering that I'm a playwright. And that I am deciding what is the path, along with Cody and these wonderful designers and wonderful industry coaches, that I am forging a path. And that has made a lot of parallels in my life. And sometimes I have to realize, Ben, sometimes I realize I'm afraid to forge that path.
Yeah.
You know, but like here's a moment where like I think I have to. So.
Well, it's nice to still be able to discover things about yourself.
Well, I would agree.
Yeah. You know, I've met a few people who are just like, I am exactly the same person as I was 10 years ago, and I will be the exact same person as I am 10 years later. And it's always just sad, but mostly boring.
Well, I think, I agree. And I think that's also a lie.
Yeah.
Something's happened to you over 10 years. It's, can I let myself be changed by them? Now, we can decide how we allow ourselves to be changed. But sure, horrible things can happen to us, and one choice is that we can let ourselves be destroyed by them. And I'm sure there are many, many examples where that's not a choice, and I affirm that.
Yeah.
But when it is a choice, let's say that, sure, that changes us, or we could stay who we are and be unaffected by life. Or things can happen to us and we can find the good and let those things make us stronger. But there has to be a letting go of what that change is supposed to look like. Can I allow myself to change into something that I don't have control over? And I think often that's the fear of adulthood. That's the fear of growing older, is that in 10 years I don't know what I'll be.
Well, I know what you will be this weekend. Performing your play, Fat Men in Yoga Pants, July 11th through July 13th.
Absolutely.
And they serve alcohol at the ICC, so that's another...
Is that true?
That's true.
I mean, if
I guess we should really contact them and see if we want to do like a specialized drink order or something.
I mean, if you want to start half hour late, like it... I mean, or just, if you want me to just do like 45 minutes and like, do y'all want to stop? You want to drink? We can... And then I cry a lot that it's done. You know, like, if we need to do that, that's okay. That'll be fine. That doesn't sell the show at all. I didn't do my job, did I? That doesn't sell it.
No, you've done your job.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, but we could get sued. We could do a drink called the Lululemon.
That's a great idea.
We would get sued. Maybe it's like a lemon stinger?
Are they going to find out?
No. I mean, no.
We just won't tag this part.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a lemon stinger. Yeah. Yeah, I'll talk to Cody.
Talk to Cody.
I'll do that.
But, Ben, what are you looking forward to most about this weekend?
Oh my God. On a very base level, getting through it. There's a part of me just, can I start at 7 and get to 8:30? I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to dear friends and dear family members and my partner who are flying from Oklahoma to come see me, which I am humbled and shocked. Well, I want to say shocked. That's a terrible word to say. I'm incredibly humbled that they would fly over states to come see me act, and especially in my first play, something I've never done before. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
To me, when loved ones show up, that's always like the best part.
Yeah.
Because I love the term theater widow so much.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I do widow my family for a little bit. And it's always such a relief to show them, like, I have been working on something. I haven't just...
Actually, I've been doing stuff. Yeah.
I haven't just been fucking around this
Exactly.
time.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't been just at the undertow.
Yeah.
I went there last night and just went, okay, this is incredible. But I guess when I am looking forward also, I think, like, to celebrating new work. And I would like to hear feedback from people who don't know me, like, what did you take from this? Like, people who, I would say kind people, but, like, people who don't owe me a response.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think about it? Like, and we'll never see each other again. Like, would you tell people about this show? What bored you? What did you think was too much? Like, things like, because it's never had a fully mounted audience. It's had workshop audiences, but never fully mounted. So I just kind of see, like, those who don't owe me a response. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
What did you think about it?
People who are here because they want to see the show but are not prepared to be giving you, like, full commentary.
Right, exactly.
It's like, I'm not here to give you commentary.
Right.
I'm here to enjoy this show called Fat Men in Yoga Pants.
Right, yeah. Looking forward to that. And I think also just want to I think I said it, like, I want to celebrate. I do. I want to celebrate doing stuff you're scared to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Thank you, Ben.
Absolutely.
All right. Fat Men in Yoga Pants, July 11th through July 13th, starring the one and only Ben Corbett.
Hey.
All right.